Hey, you. Welcome back to the Talking Flag show. I'm Ambra.
And I'm Tika. I cannot wait for this conversation. We're talking about growing up in sports, making your own mark, and using your passion to inspire others.
Our guest grew up in a family that helped shape the NFL, but she's taken that legacy and made it her own, focusing on kids, community, and helping the next generation thrive.
She's an author, a passionate advocate for young athletes, and a philanthropist. From her Football Freddy and Fumble the Dog books to the work she's doing with youth sports programs, she's helping kids to do more than just play. She's helping them dream big.
Please welcome the incredible Marnie Schneider.
My gosh. Hi, guys. Thank you. That is so nice. Thanks so much. I'm so
Oh,
excited to be here and to join your show.
thank you so much for making the time to be on our show. We're so excited to have you on. So, Marnie, you grew up in a football family. Your grandfather owned the Philadelphia Eagles,
Yes.
and your mom was one of the most influential women in the NFL.
Thank you, Tika. Yes, my mom, Susan. So, my grandfather, Leonard Toes, owned the Philadelphia Eagles, and my mom, Susan, is still to this day the first and only female vice president, legal counsel, and general manager to ever have run a football team. So, I'm very proud of my mom's accomplishments. And she was definitely somebody that brought other women along on the ride and said, we can all do this. Let's roll up our sleeves and get on the playing field and make big things happen.
An absolute role model. So, how has your family legacy shaped the person you became, but also the person you chose to be?
So, I mean, I think that I was really fortunate growing up. I got to travel around and see all these great cities and be around incredible athletes and coaches and learn these big lessons about what it's like to, show up on the playing field and be prepared. And for me, there was no other option other than since I wasn't going to play professional football in the NFL, I was like, well, let me figure out ways to get kids excited about reading and playing and learning these great coping skills that then they might get to play, in the NFL or they might get to do other things. But if they can read and play, they will automatically have a great opportunity to thrive in any community.
Wow.
Absolutely.
And was there a moment when you realized this is my path, like not just my family's?
It's interesting because I've done a lot of things and I graduated from college and I worked for the NFL after I went to Penn State and graduated, and it was a fun time in college, and I was in a sorority and got to do all those college things, and Penn State is notorious for tailgating. So there were definitely a few games that didn't really make it on time to kick off. But then you quickly realize you're like, that's amateur behavior. You want to get into the stadium well before kickoff. So I think that for me, after graduating from college and I worked at NFL Films and I got to travel around with Steve Sable and do incredible things within the NFL, I realized that I really wanted to work with children and communities and share my stories and my love of being a fan, because I think that there's nothing more fun than being a fan. And obviously, you can be a fan of a team, a fan of a player, a fan of yourself. And when kids can read and also understand the game a little bit, then they have a better opportunity to be a fan and to assimilate and make friends. And so that was something about 7 or 8 years ago. At the same time, my mother had just been diagnosed with dementia. And so she said, why don't we take out these stories that you had written when you were a young girl and let's turn them into something? And so our first book, Football Freddy and Fumble the Dog, Fumble's right here, Game Day in Philadelphia. Yeah, he's a real dog. He's a rescue dog. Rescues people. Rescue dogs rescue us. So we don't rescue them. Like, that's how it goes. And I did my first book, Football Freddy and Fumble the Dog, Game Day in Philadelphia. And it was a big hit. And it really resonated with teachers and communities and environments that kids felt that they were missing out on, and moms and dads, and they wanted to share their love of being a fan. And so since then, in the Football Freddy and Fumble the Dog Game Day series, I've written 11 other books about other cities. So I've got Philadelphia, the Carolinas, Atlanta, Chicago, Green Bay, Dallas Fort Worth, Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, game day in Canton at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Denver, Kansas City, and I'm about to release San Francisco. So that's really fun.
Oh, wow, Marnie. So the book series that you just mentioned, it really does something beautiful, right? So it blends sports with geography, values, and also community into stories for kids. So what exactly inspired, and you might have already mentioned it, what inspired you to take sports storytelling into the children's world? And why do you think sports are such a powerful teaching tool for kids?
So that is a great question. I think for me, again, growing up and being able to travel along and see all these great places, not everybody's going to have the opportunity to do that. So I was like, well, if I can incorporate highlights of different cities and different states into a book and then share that with readers, young readers and old readers. I've been told our books are for all ages. Then that was something that I knew was going to be important. And at the same time, I really do think that sports is the universal language. There's really nothing like it. I could go to Rome and we could go to a game and I might not know anybody there and know anything about the teams that are playing, but we can still, agree that cheering and going and making new friends is such a universal connector. And the same thing, I can go to the United Kingdom and go to a soccer game and, and enjoy my time being there and being around fans, because fans really are the lifeblood of communities. And so kids can learn to speak a little bit of sports, it will help them get into places that they want to be in and help them with making new friends and getting a job and just the daily grind of life. There's nothing more fun than being a fan.
Wow. So what's the message that you want your young readers to walk away with?
So, I mean, the message is obviously, we have a new term that we created called sports edutainment, because that is something that I think our books do. They're educational, and you can learn different historical facts. You can learn about Ben Franklin and learn about Betsy Ross and learn about the World War II Museum, or the World War I Museum rather, in Kansas City. You can learn about all these historical facts, and at the same time, it doesn't seem like a heavy lesson in learning. And so I think that children, and the pictures are great, and so it's really for all ages to get kids excited about learning. And so I think our message is learn to speak a little bit of sports, learn to be a great reader, learn to be creative, learn to play, even just throwing a ball. Like, I keep a baseball on my desk because it's like whenever I'm getting stuck with something, if I just throw the baseball just to myself, like, I notice, and I know that I've done a lot of studies and research that, like, just playing catch, even with yourself, will automatically reset your brain. And so it's way better than going and having like a sugary snack. I'm like, I'm just going to sit here and throw the ball for a few minutes. And then it's going to be something that I will rewire my brain to do that. So getting kids excited about playing and reading, those are great gifts that you can give yourself, and you can give them to your children. You can share the books, you can share the stories. And again, sports is generational. So if you're talking about an event, if you're talking about going to a game, grandparents, uncles, brothers, mothers will be like, oh my gosh, that game. I remember that game. I remember what I was wearing that game. I remember what I ate that day. Even if you're not there, but you still might remember those moments of what was so special about it.
Absolutely.
That
And
really resonates. Go on, sorry.
yeah,
Go ahead.
no, and sports, I mean, it doesn't just keep kids active, it also keeps them connected and give them confidence as well.
It does completely. And I think that, there's been so many studies, and obviously we all do our homework. We know that there's nothing better than kids playing, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be heavy competitive sports, although that's ultimately where they go when they decide that when they realize that they have a competitive nature. And that's amazing, as long as it's not the parents like driving it in. Although I am a mom and I have 3 kids, and sometimes you do have to, motivate them a little bit to go out and be a little bit more competitive in certain areas. But I think that watching kids play, there's an ancient, I think it's maybe an ancient Chinese proverb, and it says something like, in challenging times, go play with joyful children. And I think that the message of that is to go and be around, the youth, because they are able to take whatever it is that they're learning and whatever it is that they're interested in, and go out there and throw a ball, play catch, go have fun, go be out there. And especially for young boys and girls, sitting behind a desk all day is not healthy. I mean, it's just not. And the way that kids are even taught these days, I have a little bit of trouble with that, because I see it even with my kids, and they're a little bit older now. They're not in the school system, they're in the college system. But, boys need to be outside. They need to be outside. They need to be running and playing, and then they can go inside and learn. And definitely during COVID, it was really difficult, because I watched a generation kind of be shut inside, not allowed to go outside and play. And not every community was like that. And some were more open to, playing and letting kids be outside. But you know what? If kids can't go outside, then we're going to, really have some troubled years ahead of us. So getting kids, again, playing and reading, those are the things that really motivate me, that I'm passionate about, to encourage communities to be able to have the opportunity to go do that.
It's wonderful how deeply involved you are in like the youth sports advocacy, like especially making sports so accessible and so meaningful. You may have touched on this a little bit already, but what do you think kids need most from sports today, especially with everything competing for their attention?
I think teamwork. I think obviously learning how, we live in a world where teamwork makes the dream work. That's what everybody says. And it's true. It's like, you have to be a team player. Obviously, there are some kids that are going to be, more competitive on the field or on the court than others. And that's okay. But I think that learning teamwork, learning how things work, learning how to read a playbook, learning how to listen, those are the things that are skills that will lead you into a really good future. And again, the majority of kids are not going to go play in the NBA or play Major League Baseball or play in the NFL or MLS. But if they understand how to play, playing is such an underrated thing. Like, non-competitive play is such an important thing. But I think that teamwork, listening to your coaches, being able to get out there, having the discipline and the grit of it, those are things that fill your soul with character building skills that will lead you to success.
Absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head there. You were saying it's not just about the sports and not just about the competing, it's everything else that comes with it, all the life skills that you get from sports. So absolutely. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, so many things. Because the thing is, when you go and work in a corporate environment, that's a team sport too. You're not suiting up and putting on a uniform, but whatever you do, if you're an entrepreneur, that's a real team sport. I'm an entrepreneur. So for me, it's like, you got to bring in the right people. You got to have the right team. You've got to connect with people. And the way to connect with people is often through speaking sports, and often through being a fan and making connections, being like, that's fun. Let's go to a game, or let's talk about the game. That traditional water cooler talk is something that I think really does happen in the real world. And so getting kids to understand that speaking a little bit of sports and playing and being out there and being physical and taking care of your mind and your body and your spirit, those are things that will give you a better life as you plan ahead.
Absolutely. Well, you come from a line of really strong women who shaped football behind the scenes. So your mom, you already mentioned her, Susan. She was the first and only female GM in NFL history. So how did growing up with that kind of example influence your understanding of women's leadership in sports?
So, my mom was incredible. My mom, she kind of took that position, and my grandfather did own the team. And I think that what's really unique about that dynamic is that my grandfather looked around and said, despite the fact that she's my daughter, because there were other men that were definitely qualified for that job, but he looked around, and my mom was an attorney also. And so at the time, in the early 80s, women weren't, having law degrees, and general managers were kind of the yuckety yucks, like the good old boys. And my grandfather said, I think that putting a woman who's a general manager and also an attorney will be a really positive thing for the team. Now, football operations were different. So there was definitely somebody doing football operations because my mom was not hanging out in the locker room and going on scouting trips or whatever. But when the head of scouting would call, the head of football ops, and say, this is who we want to sign, this is what we want to do, my mother knew how to put together the contracts and get their deals done. And that's something that now NFL teams, most GMs are lawyers in this day and age because they understand the value of having an attorney to be able to do the contracts. If you can't get somebody signed, no matter how great they are, no matter how good they are, if you can't get them signed, then it doesn't matter what you've been scouting. It doesn't matter what your football operations people have done. You got to get them signed. That is the number one thing. And you have to put together a good contract to get them signed. And it was even different back in the 80s. So I think that my mom was somebody that understood the landscape and also is a real girl's girl. Like, so she was really the reason why the Philadelphia Eagles are such a female friendly organization. I definitely believe, and I'm pretty sure of it, that it's because there were women in high level positions going way back to the early 80s. And my mom started, wine on after work on Fridays and started, ice cream socials with the women and wanted them to know that they mattered and that they were giving up some family time, but this was their female family that they had in football. And I think that when you ask the women that work for my mother what they learned from her, they learned how to make a difference. They learned that they were pioneers. They learned that it was okay to feel a little bit guilty. They learned to feel all those things. And at the same time, they knew that they were doing groundbreaking work. And look, and they are very proud of their accomplishments too. And my mom hired the first female CFO, a woman named Mimi Box. At the time, women were not number crunching in the NFL, but Mimi was great. And I think that what my mom did was look around and say, who was the right people for the job? Is it a woman? Is it a man? I want the best people. That's it. She wants the best people. And a lot of times it was women. They were the best people. And she gave women opportunities when they had not had opportunities prior to that.
That's extremely inspiring. And she just really made history with that. That's amazing. And even nowadays, I think we still need more women in leadership positions. So
I agree. And, as leaders, we have to have, I've, done a lot of research on what makes good leaders. And I look at, and my mom, before she passed away, was working on a book about the comparison between NFL coaches and CEOs of companies. And, they have very similar, major CEOs and winning coaches of NFL teams, whether it's John Harbaugh, coaches the Ravens. For example, there's comparing him with a guy like Steve Jobs. They are very similar. They're very disciplined, obviously, and very driven, but there is empathy and compassion that they have. And those are things that they might not want other people to know about their high levels of empathy and compassion. But obviously, when you're coaching and when you're leading, if you don't have compassion and empathy, you are not going to be able to get good results from your players or your employees. You're just not. And it's a dynamic that is it's an intangible. Some people are better at it than others, and the compassion and the empathy combined in a really well-rounded way. That's why companies and teams are successful, I believe.
It's the people skills that sometimes, often make the difference, right? And a lot of businessmen, they underestimate that part or don't really want to work on that part. And it's the people skills because you're always dealing with people. So you need to know how to deal with them.
Yeah.
So business, yes, is important, but then you need the people skills as well to actually do business with the people, so.
And I also think that everything is really if you have these big, gigantic unilateral rules, okay, obviously show up on time, be prepared, but if you have everything's kind of on a case by case basis. And, one of the things that I loved about Coach Buddy Ryan, who passed away years ago, but Buddy was a coach at the Philadelphia Eagles and he coached a bunch of other teams. And what Buddy did, which I thought was so interesting, is that he would actually have his team practice the national anthem. And people are like, what does that mean? Okay, so you come out of the tunnel and now you're on the sidelines and then they sing the national anthem and then the game starts. But for Buddy, it was like, oh, no. This is the first time that the opposing team and the opposing fans see us as a complete team. So we're going to practice this national anthem. We're going to come out of the tunnel. Our uniforms are going to look great. We're going to be lined up straight as an arrow. And we're going to have our hands on our heart. And we're going to be focused on this national anthem. And when the opposing team and the opposing fans or whoever it is see us, they're going to know we came here. We mean business. We are ready. We're not, moping along, disheveled, like whatever it is. And so it's like, that's when, to me, when the game starts before you run out of the tunnel, because now you're going to be on the sidelines. And that's when your opponent sees what they're going to be matched up against. And I love that about Buddy Ryan, because, that is part of the game, the whole pregame part of it, being prepared. This is it. You're going into a battle of sorts. And when you show up and you're prepared and you're all there and everybody looks great and you're on the sidelines and it's organized, it's like, it shows that you're really ready to start the game. And I think that that's like something about life. Like if you just walk into a meeting and you're late or you don't look good, then how are you going to get that deal done? Like no one's going to hire you. Like, why would they want that? No one wants that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. Go ahead.
I was about to ask, so for female leaders, right? Like what barriers do you think still exist for them and how do you think we can break them?
So, I think that the barriers are ourselves. Sometimes there are other women that are not so supportive of other women. And you just kind of have to, smile, offer to help them. The thing is, sometimes people that don't want to help you, maybe we can help them. That's kind of how I view it. But I think often, having a family and being a great role model, which my mom certainly was, and I think I am for my kids, is something that's a really positive thing. Now, again, if you have young kids and you want to be at home, being an entrepreneur is a great way to be a leader. And, you might not fit in the corporate structure at that point, and that's okay too. But figuring out ways to use your skills to add value. Maybe it's just being a volunteer and going and volunteering in different philanthropies that are important to you, but finding ways to be involved in things. It's economics. If you're not invested, you can't collect. So I think that the barriers for women are often ourselves, sometimes other women feeling guilty, but doing little, moving the ball down the field, one play at a time will get you to the end zone. You don't have to throw at 1st and 10 all the time. You don't. Just chip away and you'll get there.
Love that football metaphor. That's really good.
Well, football really is, like Vince Lombardi said, it is like life. What I love about football is that you get 4 chances to get another 4 chances. And unless you really screw it up, which sometimes people do, and they get themselves into big hot water. But for the most part, if you don't get the ball back after your 4 chances, you will probably get the ball back again within the next 60 minutes. There's a very high likelihood. So it's like, that's like life. Like, you know what? We make mistakes. It's okay. You just got to get back out there and take another snap and keep going. And if you don't keep going, then you definitely won't get there. But you know what? You get 4 chances to get another 4 chances. So just keep going.
Absolutely. So what advice do you give young girls who want to work in or around sports?
Well, I would tell them certainly to be a fan, get involved, be able to understand the sports, play a lot of sports, whatever it is, whether it's, gymnastics. It's great for young girls. It's physical. They enjoy that. It's a team sport, whether it's, being in gymnastics, being in basketball. Of course, we love girls flag football. There's nothing more fun than girls flag football is going to take over. I'm so excited because I really think it's like, first of all, flag football is a great sport. We get to watch these, young men and women participate. It's going to be in the Olympics. I'm very involved in flag football. I love it. I think it's a great sport. My kids have played flag football. There's nothing more fun than being out there and cheering for your flag football teams. But I think for young women that want to get in sports, get involved in flag. It is, if you want to be in football, get involved with flag. Figure out a way to do it, be involved in a team, sponsor a team, help kids get sponsorship, go find uniforms for them, help them get involved, get people to the games, showcase and highlight them. Talking about other people, what they're doing is a really great gift for yourself and for others. So I think that for young women, getting involved in flag football, there's nothing more fun. Certainly understanding the sport, being a good cheerleader, both on and off the field for what you love, and being a good advocate is certainly something that I think you'll make new friends when you're out there cheering. And I think that that's really the best way. Look, we met because I'm excited about what you girls are doing. You're excited about what I'm doing. And so, we have a family saying cheering for others makes you a leader, a cheerleader. So when you cheer for others and your show, and I love what you're doing, and you're so, interesting, and you're in another country and you're doing it. Like, I love that. That to me is just the best. I'm so proud that I get to call you my friends now. It's really fun.
That is so sweet, and that's such a beautiful message to send to our listeners. Thank you so much. That's really heartwarming. So Marnie, I love that. And so your experience spans legacy NFL culture, modern youth sports, and even entrepreneurship through storytelling, right? So you've seen so many sides of the sports world. Now, what's the biggest change you've witnessed in sports culture?
Well, I think just the accessibility to it. I think that back in the old days, if you weren't, you had to, which is good and bad. You turn on the TV. There was no direct TV, no YouTube TV. It was like 3 stations. Once Fox didn't even exist back in the old days. It was just NBC, ABC, and CBS, and so you had smaller opportunities to catch the game. Now, I think the biggest thing and the best thing is that it really is global. Sports are global. NFL is global. They have, they have games all over the world now. And so it gives an opportunity for fans from all over to go attend the games, go turn on TV and see the games, get to witness what's going on. So I think that that's something that's great about sports, that technology is really an amazing gift. You can be driving along. Last week I was in the car with my son, and he was watching the game on my phone, on our phones, and I was driving because I was not watching it. But so that's something that did not happen years ago. You had to listen to it on the radio. But I will tell you this, I still love listening to your local radio people calling the game, because it uses your imagination, which I love also. So I love listening to radio sports, whether it's baseball, certainly football, but I mean, baseball on the radio is great. That's kind of baseball and radio kind of go hand in hand. But I think that having the access to be able to watch the games and see your favorite players and see your favorite teams at all times of the day is something that's a really good positive thing.
And what do you think still needs to evolve?
Well, I mean, I think that the NFL is certainly working on player safety. I think that safety is something that is always going to be a concern for families of players and fans of players. Like, I don't like it when I see players get injured. It's part of the game. They're playing a sport. I get it. But I think certainly finding ways to improve brain health is something that all sports, whether it's girls soccer or girls, whatever it is, improving brain health is something that that is a worldwide, something that we can all get behind. Improving brain health, whether it's our own brain health, whether it's finding ways to be healthy, eat healthy, being physically fit, but also certainly the athletes that are out there making massive sacrifices for us fans. We want to make sure that we can find ways to keep them healthy as long as possible. And then once they're retired, to continue to find ways to work with their families and doctors and incredible, medical people, so that their health remains healthy, so that they did not make any sacrifices for us that were not worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Health is everything, especially brain health.
Brain health. Yeah, it really is. And I watched my mother decline from dementia, and that was something really tragic. And so now it's motivated me even more to make sure that men and women, whether they're football players, athletes, whatever, wherever they come from, that their mind, body, and spirit is healthy. And certainly working and finding ways to improve brain health is something that is very important to me.
I also think that a lot of people don't understand maybe what the impact could be of brain injury. It's absolutely huge. It's not just the things that we know, but it's also personality changes. It can be so much further than what people think. And you know, once those brain cells die, you'll never get them back. I do wonder if the message, you know, if a lot of people are aware of the importance of brain health, because like I work in a prison, in a female prison, and the number of women who have sustained brain injury through falling or even abuse, or we're not going that way, but what I'm just trying to say is that the impact of it on their personality, on their behavior, on their cognitive functioning is absolutely it's devastating.
It is, you know, and that's so interesting because I want to talk about the, you know, we're not on our show. I want to talk about the prison system with women and men too, and the brain health issues. But when you have a brain health issue, it doesn't simply impact the patient. It definitely impacts them, but it's the family and, you know, their loss, and it's expensive, and you are confused and you don't know what's going on because they don't know what's going on. And early detection is so key, but often it's very difficult to have early detection. And, you know, I know there's a lot of things that are now in the forefront of medical miracles where we're trying to diagnose brain health, cognitive decline 10 years earlier so that you can get a hold of it. And certainly in prisons, and I would imagine that, you know, I've heard that in prisons with men and women that the cognitive decline is something that is a very uncomfortable scenario because obviously as inmates they don't have a lot of privileges, but you still want to have some dignity for everybody, for their family wants to give them some dignity. And when they have cognitive decline and they're in the prison system, their dignity is probably gone even more so than their dignity of just simply being a prisoner. So we really have to figure out some ways to get early detection. And then the other part of it is that doing a lot of medical testing is often very expensive, and taxpayers are not thrilled about, you know, paying for that when people are in the system. So there's a lot of things that need to be done better, and that I think our medical community is looking at ways to find early diagnosis, ways that are not expensive, but to diagnose and then to make adjustments and to give families, whether they're obviously on the one side of the spectrum in the prison system, but if they've been incredible athletes and given opportunities for us to enjoy what they're doing on and off the field, then we want to make sure that we can provide the comfort and love for them as well as they transition to, you know, the other side of the journey, which is not pretty. And I with my mom, and it's not pretty. I mean, we were able to give her a lot of comfort, and I'm very thankful for that. But I don't think that a lot of families have that luxury, and I'm grateful we could do that for my mother.
Yeah. And I can imagine, especially in the US, everything is so expensive, especially the medical care. It's just not for everybody. And then the NFL being in America, where, you know, all those concussions, and it's hard. It's really difficult.
It is. And I think that the NFL does a really good job of trying to identify and help and give medical recommendations and medical help to people that have played in the NFL. But, you know, there's going to be things that are going to slip through the cracks, like with anything. So the best thing that we can do is start talking about brain health and figuring out ways to potentially, you know, help players and help ourselves through making our brains healthier and stronger. And a lot of that comes down to diet, exercise, reading. That's why I say reading is a great thing for your brain. It really is a great thing for your brain. So when kids read when they're younger, they get stronger, they get better cognitive skills, better communication skills. Then they're not as inclined to maybe go and be, you know, out in the community doing things that are not good for them. So I've got a great program with a bunch of different local law enforcement where we keep copies of my books in each of the squad cars. And if there's an altercation involving a family or involving youth, then they can, you know, read my books to the kids and have an opportunity to connect with them on that level. Even if the children were not causing the trouble, they know that it's traumatic to be near and something like that. So they want to try to mitigate the trauma, and reading and understanding and connecting with people really does do that.
That's
mind
yeah,
blowing. Yeah.
it really is. But yeah, so one thing we really love asking our guests is, who are you off the field, right? So outside of the books, the events, the philanthropy. So what does Marnie find? Where does Marnie find joy, creativity, and maybe even peace?
Oh, it's so good. You know, I'm really fortunate. I've got three great children that I am very proud of their accomplishments. I'm very proud of them as people, their discipline, and their life choices. And so I think that that is something that I take great pride in, having three great kids that I'm very, very close with. And we are, I mean, it's Thanksgiving. So I'm grateful that we get to celebrate Thanksgiving. It is the first Thanksgiving without my mother. So I know that she's with us in spirit. And I think even, you know, being on your show today and having two beautiful, smart women that I get to talk to is a little bit of my mom's love coming back to me by showing me that there's great women out there that are my new friends. So thank you, Mom, and thank you, ladies.
Aw.
For me, I think volunteering is always a great way to reset. I'm very involved in the Ronald McDonald House and other charities, but I think volunteering really does reset you when you feel like a little out of sorts and funky. Volunteering is something great. And I guess you know, just like being with my dogs and going for a walk or watching a game, and just trying to figure out some things. And I'm thankful that I don't drink or do drugs or anything like that. So I don't even enjoy going out. And although if I was in the UK, if I was in, okay, if I'm in Rome, we're definitely going to go have some pizza and some pasta and wine. Like, I would definitely do that. Definitely having a pint. Okay. I will definitely would love to go to a soccer game, an English soccer game, and a football game like you guys call it, and go do that. But I think that I'm very fortunate. I've got great friends in my life, and so I've been able to carve out a really good time for myself when I'm not out there kind of just being that character, which is really me anyway. So I guess that, like, that's the same. Like, I think if we were gonna meet each other in person, you would probably be like, you're so normal and you're so you. And I'm like, I know, I hope that's okay, because that's me. So yeah, I think that I like doing things for other people. That's really my what gives me a lot of joy. And my mom would always say, you can't expect people to do what you would do, or you'll be living a life of constant disappointment. So you have to just do things because you want to do them without any expectations. And I feel like that's kind of what I get to do, a lot of that. And that's fun to me. And most of the times when people ask me to help them, it ends up helping me more than them, I would say.
Right.
That's such great advice of your mom, because you can only control what you do, right? You can't control anyone else's choices or behaviors. So
No.
it's fantastic how you've really took those lessons and those, I don't know, your suggestions and your advice from your mom, and just became this incredibly powerful and strong and just assertive and successful woman and beautiful woman. It's really inspiring. I don't know what you think, Ambra, but I'm just like,
Yeah.
wow, this is just
And someone who is so focused on helping others, like it's really hard to find sometimes nowadays. And I think it's just beautiful. And you find, I mean, I can feel that you find so much joy in doing that. Like you said, I don't expect anything in return, but it's just something that I love to do. And I think we can find, I mean, I can find myself in this as well. And I'm sure you too, Tika, because we do lots of voluntary work. And the fact that we have a background in psychology probably says a lot as well. Like, we love to help, support. So I really love that. And I'm just so happy that we have this new friend that's absolutely fantastic.
I know. Well, thank you. I can't wait to visit you, ladies, and I'm going to come to the United States. Come visit, and we'll get to go and do some story times and some book readings. But I mean, ultimately, the big plan for my book series for Game Day is to do the same thing with other leagues. So it's like I'm working on Baseball Billy and Bunt the Dog, same idea for Major League Baseball, and then eventually we'll come over and do soccer. So we'll do the same thing, and and bring game day in the UK and game day in Italy with
Oh,
soccer.
yeah.
Yes.
I mean, we're quite involved in Manchester City here. So, I mean, just come over and I'm sure we'll make something at work.
I know. Well, I mean, that's really the plan is ultimately is to get kids all over the world excited about reading and playing. So game day in Manchester, is definitely with Man U is something that is on my vision board. So I will definitely be, we definitely be reaching out to you about that because I think that there's a universal, again, sports is the universal language and getting young girls in particular, although obviously my books are for boys and girls and people of all ages, but I do think that getting young girls excited about being a fan and knowing that they can fit in a little bit by being a fan and knowing a tiny bit about the game, just a tiny bit. Like we like to say, it's like beach entry. Like they're going to learn a little bit about the game and they're going to learn about their city, learn about being a fan, learn kind of what goes on. And then it's a really well-rounded experience. And not everybody's going to get to go to a game in Manchester United. But guess what? There's tons of fans here that are Manchester United fans. And so they're not going to get to go to the United Kingdom and get to go to a game. But how fun would it be for them to read about what it's like to be at that game in that city, what Manchester is like and what the fans are like and what are some of the specialty foods that are there and the history there. So sharing that experience with fans all over the world, that's something that to me, I think is really important and resonates, and we can get kids all over sharing and talking about that. It will bring everybody closer together, not farther apart.
I'm just visualizing how that's going to look, and I'm really excited of the idea of this. So yes, we'll definitely be in touch about this, Marnie.
Okay, good. Yes.
No. Yes, excellent. So Marnie, it's rapid fire time. Okay. So that means 10 questions, 0 overthinking.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay, let's get this video on.
Oh, yeah, the video.
Have you got the video ready?
Yes, I got it ready. Yes.
Okay, and then we'll make a start. First question. First word you think of when you hear Philadelphia?
Eagles.
Of course. Second question. Favorite book you read as a kid?
Oh, oh shoot. Well, I mean, if I'm going to go historical, it's the Diary of Anne Frank.
So, absolutely. Oh, we know everything about that. We were born and raised in the Netherlands. I don't know if you knew, but yeah, awesome.
That to me is a very important, for many reasons, it's a very important book and it still resonates with me. And I think about her experiences and their family's experiences all the time. And, so yes, Anne Frank.
Beautiful. Okay. A quote you live by.
Well, it's a quote that my grandfather and Coach Dick Vermeil would say all the time. To do big things, you got to do big things.
Love it. That's great.
Great.
Well, I probably know the answer of this one already, but if Football Freddy visited any country next, where would you send her?
Well, she's going to go to the 2 places. She's going to go to the United Kingdom and she's going to Rome.
Oh.
Yes, that's called winning. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. A children's book you wish you had written?
Oh, probably like A Secret Garden by Frances Hodgson Burnett. Like I just love that book as a young girl, and I think it's magical, and I always like that book.
Great choice.
Or A Little Princess. She wrote both. A Little Princess also is another one that I can relate to those. I can relate to the characters in both of those stories.
Wonderful.
One value every young athlete should learn early.
Grit.
Mm.
Grit.
Mm-hmm.
Grit. It is the common denominator between anybody that's successful is grit. It's not even necessarily, skills. It's just grit. The grittier you are, the more success you will have. Period. End of subject.
It's the hard work, yes, that you have to put into it. Absolutely. Most inspiring city you've visited while writing your books?
Oh, geez. Well, I would say that, each city kind of does offer something a little bit different. I really like, I mean, speaking of grit, I really like Pittsburgh. It's a gritty city. I mean, it reminds me a little bit of probably similar to Manchester, where it's a very, there's a lot of mining and like gritty people, and the weather's a little gray and dark. And so I think that people really are resilient there. And I really like Pittsburgh a lot. And they call it Three Rivers. It's just a really neat place. I'm a big fan of Pittsburgh.
Excellent.
Okay. Well, a person who shaped your leadership style.
Well, certainly my mother. I mean, my mom more than anybody. I think I was, again, I'm really fortunate that I got to have such a great mom in all aspects.
What's one thing people misunderstand about youth sports?
I think that they misunderstand that that sometimes the parents get too emotionally involved in it, and it really is youth sports. It's not youth parent sports, it's youth sports. I get it. Parents are providing the money for it, and when they want to see their results, but it's youth sports. Like, you got to and there's some coaches out there that aren't great. That's just the real world, but like, you got to let the kids and the coaches navigate that dynamic. And when you get too heavy handed and involved in that, it really does negatively impact the experience for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Let the coaches coach and let the kids just play. I agree.
Yeah.
And finally, last question. Describe your mission in 3 words.
I would say compassion, encouragement, and fun.
Mm-hmm. What a great combination.
Yes.
Thank you. I didn't even, I never really thought about that before, but those are the things that I think that would describe me. And so that's what I want to give back. I want to give people fun, because everyone's definition of fun is different, but fun to me is being empowered and having somebody celebrate you and enjoying some of the things, and just being able to have a good time, knowing that you're loved and that you matter.
Absolutely.
What a great thing to this podcast.
Yes. Well, Marnie, thank you so much for opening up and showing the passion and purpose behind your work.
It's been absolutely, again, it's been so different from what we normally have on the show. So really interesting. And it's really, it's made me feel positive and like determined and motivated. I've just got this
I feel so empowered after this meeting. I'm like, I can conquer the world. Let's go.
Yeah. Oh, you can. You are. Look at what you're doing. You're already doing it. So it's like, again, you just got to move the ball down the field. That's really what it is. And celebrate your victories. The thing is, like, as women, we often kind of like, and I do this to myself, like, we don't really talk about, I'm not talking about being, a big blabbermouth, but like, celebrate yourself. Like, I'm so proud of what you're doing and that I get to be part of it, that, like, believe me, like, I want to share what I just did. I want you guys to send me whatever I can share with people, because I'm really proud of you. I think that it takes a lot of courage to have your own show and to be, reaching out to people and connecting with people. And that's the one great thing about social media, is that it does bring people together. I will say this, that I've had more positive experiences than negative with social media, and it does make the world smaller in many good ways.
You just have to know how to use it, I think. And I think all of us, we're using it in the right way. And it gives us a lot of positive things in return, which is the network, the people, the stories. And that's what we love about this show. Like, we really love to hear all these different stories around flag football, around sports and leadership. It's always very inspiring, and we're always learning something new. And we love to learn. So it's been a really nice journey.
Yeah.
Well, learning is, makes you interesting. If you don't learn things, you're going to be really boring. Mm-hmm. And if you're not learning things, then you will be boring. And I like to learn things. That's why, I like to write books, and I like to travel around and see all these great places. And, that to me, at least, I think, keeps my brain healthy and fresh. And also, again, learning things keeps us motivated to go do more things. And that's really what it all comes down to keep doing things and adding value to the universe.
Yes, absolutely. Again, Marnie, thank you so much for your time, and we would love to speak to you again in the future to see what you've been up to. We'd love to keep in touch. So for everyone listening, check out Marnie's books, her youth sports initiatives, and the incredible work she does in communities across the country.
Yes. And then to our Talking Flag family, keep supporting the voices, building the future of flag football and storytelling.
And then, Marnie, can you please let us know where our followers can find you?
Okay, well, so they can find me on Instagram. I'm Marnie Schneider1. So Marnie Schneider, Schneider, the number one on Instagram. They can find me on Facebook, just my name, Marnie Schneider. Same thing on LinkedIn. And I think Twitter is the same. It's Marnie Schneider also. So, or they can find you ladies and then they can connect. And
Absolutely. We'll put it all underneath under the link. So
okay,
don't worry. Yes.
yes.
Thank you so much again. And then for our followers, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and follow us on Talking Flag, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify. You know it. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, keep chasing those flags.
Thank you, Marnie. We
Thank
loved
you so
having
much,
you.
Marnie.